G'day YouTubers. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll remember that a few episodes back I did a little segment where I had this remote control submarine and I sent it down and got some pictures. I've been waiting for the right tide conditions and being in the right area to do another segment on it, and finally it's come together. I was over at Peel, which is where I really wanted to do this next segment, just on the Horseshoe Bay side of Southwest Rocks. And I just want to show you what I talked about in a video quite some time ago about fishing off the edge of the reef. First of all, just let me say that I still haven't got control of this submarine properly. I'm using my phone on the controller and there's so much glare and reflection off the phone that a lot of the time I can't see what's happening underwater. I do have VR goggles for use with it, but I don't like them when I'm on the boat by myself because then I can't see which direction the tether's going, and just using the submarine I've got no idea which direction I'm heading. So I like to be able to see the tether to know where I'm going. When I can do that, there's too much glare on the phone. I'll have to come up with some sort of glare shield or hood that will shade the phone screen, and I can just look down into it and glance up to see which direction the tether's heading in. Or alternatively, just use the submarine when my wife's on board to keep an eye on the tether and tell me if it starts to stray from the direction I want to go. So anyway, about what we're seeing on the video, I started off away from the reef so that I could just come in along the bottom up to the reef. You see there's a lot of holes in the sand in the bottom here. I don't know what lives in these holes, but whatever it is, it's going to be food for something that comes along to eat it. This far out from the reef is not somewhere that I generally fish. I have fished it at times, particularly of a night time where I just anchor up and throw a line in while I have tea before I go to bed. And over the years I have caught some really big fish out in this area, but the bites are very few and far between in my experience. I get a lot more bites further in, closer to the edge of the reef, and I get some decent fish in there as well. Sitting around waiting for a bite is not my style of fishing. I like action, so I'd rather get smaller fish more often than one big fish occasionally. If you've been paying attention to what's happening on the screen, one thing that you will notice is that so far we haven't seen any fish. Where there's something to attract the fish, it's just teeming with life. But even though there's holes in the ocean floor here where I figure something lives and something feeds on them, we're still not seeing fish, so it's not somewhere that the normal reef species that hang out in this area is going to come and forage. I'm not sure what's going to eat the residents of the holes, but something will. Could be anything. But I don't think it's fish because we're not seeing fish out here, and I haven't caught many fish out this far. If you're watching this on a decent screen, you might just notice that the bottom is just subtly starting to change, looks slightly different. If you've got a good screen to view this in and you've got good eyesight, just keep an eye out right in the distance at the limit of visibility. You might just start to see the odd fish in a second, because we're getting in closer to the start of the reef now. We're just coming up to the very edge of the reef here, and there we can see our first fish. I couldn't tell what that was that shot past, but I have seen little seahorses in this area, so it could have been one of them. Could have also been a prawn. But as you can see now, we're starting to get into the very edge of the reef. You can see broken bits of coral and rubble, clusters of shells, soft coral, a little bit of hard coral. Just very scattered yet, and this is the area that I really like to fish. Just this scattered area where the coral starts. Not too many snags, and it seems to me that the larger fish hunt this area more often than not. But of course it all depends on the tide. If you're not at the right tide for the right area, you're not going to get anything much to speak of. From the cloud of sand that was just stirred up, I'd say something was on the bottom and I missed seeing it before he got a fright and moved off. As you can see, we're starting to get into the area now where there's the odd scattered large coral, both hard and soft, a bit of brain coral, that sort of thing, on this particular reef. And then of course, because of all the glare and reflection in the phone screen, I got all disorientated again. I had to flip the submarine up so I could find the sun, just so I could figure out which way I was pointing. There's a little icon down on the screen, but sometimes it's just a little bit confusing. Anyway, lost where we were, eventually got back to the reef, And this is the bit that's really getting interesting now as far as a fish habitat and fishing spot goes. As we're getting closer to the edge of the real reef, real as in having more massive corals there, we can see some fish activity starting. First of all, there's just the little ones, and then as we go further in, we can see some bigger fish. I'm not saying these fish are big enough to be table fish. They don't look like table fish to me, but where there's fish that can be eaten, there's bigger fish there to eat them. That's just a given. These fish could be camera shy, but I think it's more likely that they thought the submarine was going to eat them and they've vacated the area. Never mind, you did get a glimpse of them, and it just goes to show that once you get into the edge of the reef, there's quite a population of fish there. A lot of small ones are going to steal your bait, but that's okay. Feed them up, throw them back if you catch them. They'll get big enough for someone to have a good feed on. And as I said quite a few videos ago, that's the area I like to fish on these shallow reefs around the islands. Well, that's it. Due to the difficulties I had in controlling it and getting the thing to go where I wanted it to because I couldn't see the screen properly for the glare, about now the battery was getting so low that I thought I'd better return to the bait. I would have liked to go a little bit further over the reef just to show how rapidly the reef builds up to something quite dense, for want of a better word, but with luck I'll get back there and do that another time. I'll just throw up a map to show you exactly where I was at Peel, or if not exactly, the general area anyway. All that area that's shown under the flashing yellow line is pretty much the same. I haven't dived or snorkeled it recently, but many years ago I dived and snorkeled that a lot, and I don't think it would have changed all that much in that time. So anywhere along there you can expect to see roughly the conditions that I've shown here. So that's it for the video, short and sweet. I hope you got something out of it and sort of appreciate what I was trying to explain before when I didn't have any underwater footage to show you. Until next time, good fishing.